Hi everyone, this is Learning with Linda, and today I bring you an update regarding tax season of 2024. And well guys, there's some pretty big news out there regarding a child tax credit proposal that has now pretty much advanced to the U.S. House Committee, and it's heading to the House floor. So in this proposal, we're also going to be highlighting some important points that could be benefiting some low-income families, and this has everything to do with the new child tax credit. But again, it's still a proposal, and we're going to be explaining everything in this video. Next, we also have the IRS, where it says it's going to be taxing Arizona's child tax rebate. And by the way, it's not the first state that does this, but of course, we're going to be including all those details. We're also going to be talking about some important dates you want to keep in mind as you begin to file your taxes for 2024. That, by the way, that begins in January 29th. So make sure you guys stay until the end of this video to ensure that you receive this information. Now, before we get started, if you're interested in the latest news regarding stimulus, child tax credit, SNAP, PEBT, and everything in between, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. Now let's get right to it. So one of the major topics I want to cover today has everything to do with this new child tax credit. At least for now, it's just a proposal, right? So here we have this article from Yahoo Finance, and it says that the U.S. House panel advances a $78 billion tax break bill in strong bipartisan vote. And again, this one already includes the child tax credit bill. Here's another article where it says that this bill is currently passing the committee on a big bipartisan vote, and it's currently heading to House floor. And so today, the House Ways and Means Committee voted 40-3 to approve a bipartisan tax package that includes an expansion of the child tax credit and also a series of breaks for businesses. So the Tax Relief for Americans, Families and Workers Act of 2024 would increase the child tax credit and restore the full value of declining business tax deductions for investments in research, development, and then also equipment. So the panel's vote on the $78 billion bill comes as the Republican-led House leaves for a one-week recess. But lawmakers are hopeful that the chamber will vote on it as early as the following week, which coincides with the beginning of tax filing season. Now, Republican sources said the bill is expected to hit the House floor the week of January 29th, which is pretty much when the House returns. However, the office of the U.S. House Speaker, Mike Johnson, noted that nothing has been decided yet, with the spokesperson saying only that the Speaker's office has not made any public statements on this bill, right? So if the legislation clears the House, its path is hazier in the Senate, where it requires 60 votes, and some senior members want to make revisions of their own. And this includes, like, for example, Senator Mike Crapo, the top Republican on the Finance Committee, and said he's not ready to support the package as is and pretty much wants to amend it, either in committee or on the Senate floor. Another good sign, though, for the bill is it received qualified praise from the White House and quickly won the endorsement of Senate Majority Leader Chuck, who touted the child tax credit as a benefit to as many as 16 million children in low-income households. So let's do a breakdown of this proposal that has everything to do with the child tax credit. So the child tax credit is a provision of the tax code that reduces tax liability of up to $2,000 in credit per child. Now, the child tax credit is partially, quote unquote, refundable, meaning that families can get up to $1,600 per child from the IRS, even if they don't owe any federal income taxes. Now, again, in order to qualify for any child tax credit, families must show at least $2,500 in earnings over the year, and then the credit then phases in at a rate of 15% per dollar of earnings over $2,500. So let me show you guys how, if this new child tax credit passes, how it could kind of look for someone who has a $15,000 income. So the proposal would deliver a meaningful income boost to millions of families in the first year. So for example, consider a parent who has a toddler and a second grader, right? So that makes it like two dependents, and earns $15,000 working as a food server. So in the first year, the family's child tax credit will increase by $1,725 from the $1,875, and then again, if this passes, it would pretty much bump it up to the $3,600. So through this proposal, it would pretty much increase the maximum refundable amount per child, which is currently being capped at around $1,600 to $1,800 in tax year 2023. $1,900 would be the case in tax year 2024, and then $2,000 in tax year of 2025. This reform would also modify the calculation of the maximum refundable credit amount by first multiplying the earned income in the excess of $2,500 by 15%, and then you multiply that amount by the number of qualifying children. So if the proposal becomes law, it would allow lower income families to receive a refundable tax credit for each child. Right now, many of them only earn one tax credit for all of their children combined. So for instance, families earning between $10,000 and $30,000 will see a much larger credit if they have more than one child. But again, this is still a proposal. Moving on to some news for my friends in the state of Arizona. So do you guys remember those families tax rebates that was sent to you by your state for those that were eligible? Well, it seems like the IRS is saying that those are pretty much subject to federal tax. So let me provide you guys with all those details. So the IRS will tax a state tax rebate that was given to more than 740,000 families in 2023 to help with inflation costs, and this was something that was said by the Arizona Department of Revenue. Now, the Department of Revenue said also that it's been told the IRS will classify the rebate as taxable income, forcing families to pay taxes on money that many likely thought was free and clear. Now, the statement said that the tax rebate in question is not subject to Arizona income tax. Affected taxpayers will be sent a statement by mail that they are to check the online portal to access their 1099 miscellaneous form, which documents the rebate amount they received. So again, it would be a 1099 that you would have to go online and obtain, right? So the ADOR is required by federal law to issue this form to taxpayers as an informational statement, since the income must be reported on the income tax return. However, this is not the first time that a state tax rebate has been subjected to the federal taxes. Other states have pretty much done this in the past, and that one of those states is actually Minnesota. So in December of 2023, the Associated Press reported a $260 tax rebate that was sent out by the Minnesota state government to their taxpayers will be subjected to $26 in federal income taxes. On October 31st of 2023, Governor Katie Hobbs announced the tax rebate, which involved a one-time payment of up to $750 for those who are eligible. Now, according to ADOR officials, those eligible will get $250 for every claim dependent who is under the age of 17 and $100 for every claim dependent over the age of 17. And this is, of course, based on their 2021 tax returns. And moving on to some important information for tax season of 2024. If you've heard some of my previous videos, we've mentioned some important dates that you want to keep in mind. So I just want to remind you here of some of the things to look out for this tax season, right? So again, the tax season is beginning on January 29th, really, and it's going to be the official start date of the nation's 2024 tax season, which is pretty much when the agency is going to begin accepting and processing the 2023 tax return. So you want to make sure you get those as soon as possible, pretty much. So the IRS expects more than 128.7 million individual tax returns to be filed by the April 15th, 2024 tax deadline. So although the IRS will not officially begin accepting and processing tax returns until January 29th, people do need to wait until then to work on their taxes if they're using like software companies or tax professionals. So for example, most software companies accept electronic submissions and then hold them until the IRS is ready to begin processing later this month. Here are some important dates you must keep in mind for tax season of 2024. Again, the IRS is going to begin accepting and processing your individual 2023 tax returns starting January 29th. April 15th would be the national due date to file a 2023 tax return or request an extension for those of you that may need that. And then also it'll be the due date for to pay pretty much any taxes owed. April 17th would be the due date for residents of Massachusetts and Maine. This is only because they file their federal tax return on this date because of state holidays. June 17th would be a tax deadline for Americans living abroad. In the month of July, that's also your deadline to claim the 2020 tax refund. And then October 15th would be the due date to file for those who requested an extension on their 2023 tax returns. Now, keep in mind that the IRS does offer extensions in the event of a disaster. You may be eligible for an extension to file your return and pay your tax bill if you are in a federally declared disaster area. Now, in most cases, you will not need to request an extension. You're pretty much going to get it automatically. And then for those of you that qualify for a tax refund in 2024, keep in mind that there's various factors that can affect the timing of a refund from the IRS, especially, depending on when you submit it. Now, the agency said most refunds are issued in less than 21 days. However, it cautions taxpayers not to rely on receiving a refund by a certain date, particularly when making major purchases or paying bills. Now, there is a tool that you can use to check your refund status, and that one is called Where's My Refund? It's a tool that's basically online. You can just go ahead and Google that and then always double check that you're on the irs.gov website, right? Now, the agency also added that it cannot issue earned income tax credit and additional child tax credit refunds before mid-February as part of the Federal Protecting Americans from Tax Hikes Act. The IRS also expects most EITC/ACTC related funds to be available in taxpayer bank accounts or on debit cards by February 27th if they chose direct deposit, and then of course there are no other issues with their tax return. And that is all the updates that I have for today. Remember to turn on your notification button to know when I have uploaded a new video. See you guys next time.